I should have known something was off when Amanda started mentioning her boss, Ethan, more frequently. At first, it seemed harmless, a casual talk about work. Ethan's a great leader, she'd say, or Ethan thinks I'm one of the most valuable members of the team. I shrugged it off. It was natural to be excited about a promotion, right? But then came her request. A regular Friday evening, wine in hand, she casually dropped a bombshell. You know, she began, her voice hesitant, Ethan's been incredibly supportive of me. He even said he sees potential for me to move into a regional director position. That's great, I said, proud of her. You've worked so hard for this. She set her glass down and seemed to pause, as if weighing her words. There's something I want to ask you. It's unconventional. I raised an eyebrow. Unconventional how? Her cheeks flushed, her eyes darting away from mine. Ethan and we have a really good working relationship. He suggested something that could solidify our bond and maybe fast-track my career. My stomach twisted. What are you talking about? Her voice dropped, almost a whisper. He said we could have one night together. Nothing emotional, just physical. It could help me get ahead, Caleb. It's a strategic move. A cold silence settled between us. I struggled to process what she was saying, the words incomprehensible. A strategic move? You're asking me to be okay with this? She tried to explain, her voice rising in a pleading tone. It's not what you think. It's not about love or betrayal. It's about advancing my career. This could change everything for us. I stood up, my chest tightening. So, you're willing to throw away our marriage for promotion? She snapped. Don't make this more dramatic than it is. You always said you support my ambitions. This is next level. The woman I had loved for 8 years was sitting in front of me, treating infidelity like a business deal. I felt betrayed, but something in me hardened. A plan began to form.
My voice was cold, detached. Fine.
Do what you want. Her eyes widened in relief. Wait, really? You're okay with this? I nodded, still emotionless. If it means that much to you, go ahead. Amanda smiled, grateful but unaware of the storm I was about to unleash. That weekend, I spent my time planning, calm and calculated. I wasn't the type to yell or throw a tantrum. No, I would handle this differently, cold, methodical, and devastating. I rented a storage unit early that Sunday morning. By the time Amanda left that evening, I had already boxed up her clothes, jewelry, photos, everything she owned. Each trace of her was removed from the house. It felt final. Next, I drafted a few emails. The first went to Amanda's family, a polite but firm message telling them that our marriage was over, along with the text exchanges between her and Ethan. Let them see who she really was. The second email was to our landlord. I found a smaller apartment downtown and broke the lease on our current place. Amanda didn't need to know yet, but she would soon enough. Finally, I sent an email to Ethan's wife. The golden boy had a family, a wife and 2 kids, his photo framed on his office desk. I'd seen it at the company Christmas party. My email was simple. Subject: Thought you should know. Dear Mrs. Whitman, I'm writing to inform you that your husband, Ethan, and my wife, Amanda, are spending the night together at the Married on 5th Avenue, room 203. I believe you deserve to know what's happening in your marriage. Attached are screenshots of their conversations and confirmation of the hotel reservation. Best regards.
Caleb.
I hit send, imagining the chaos that would follow. When Amanda returned the next morning, she walked in with an awkward, almost guilty smile. Hey, she said, setting down her bag. It went fine. Good, I replied, sipping my coffee. I hope it was worth it. She frowned, sensing something was off. What do you mean? Check the closet, I said flatly. She hesitated, then walked to our bedroom. A moment later, I heard her gasp. Where's all my stuff? I followed her into the room, calm and composed. This house is no longer yours. Our marriage is definitely not yours. I packed everything up and put it in storage. The address is on the counter, along with the key. You'll be staying there until you figure out your next move. Her face went pale. Caleb, you don't mean that. Oh, I absolutely do, I said, my voice frigid. You made your choice when you walked out that door last night. Now you live with it. She began to cry, the sound only fueling my resolve. I did this for us, she sobbed, to help us have a better life. No, I shook my head. You did this for you. Now you don't have a husband, a home, or a shred of my respect. As she tried to sputter out excuses, her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and I saw Ethan's name, the message underneath reading, "Call me now." I pointed to the phone. Go ahead. I'm sure your boyfriend has plenty to say. Her face crumpled as the realization hit her. You didn't. I did, I said flatly. And I'm telling HR at your company, too. Let's see how far you get without your golden boy covering for you. She fell silent. The tears stopped as the weight of her actions crashed down on her. I watched her, broken, defeated, standing there in the bedroom. The woman I had loved was gone, replaced by someone I barely recognized. Amanda stood frozen, the realization of what I had done sinking in. She was no longer the confident woman who had once held my heart. Now, she was just a hollow shell, left to deal with the consequences of her choices. And I, for the first time in years, felt free. Amanda picked up her phone, her hands trembling as she scrolled through the flood of messages. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching her unravel. You destroyed my life, she hissed, glaring at me, tears streaming down her cheeks. No, Amanda, I replied calmly. You destroyed your life. I just made sure the evidence didn't stay a secret. She flinched, as if the words physically hit her. Do you have any idea what this could do to my career? Careers? I asked, shaking my head. That's your priority right now? You weren't thinking about your career or our marriage when you crawled into bed with Ethan. But don't worry, HR will have all the context they need. I forwarded your text to them this morning. Her jaw dropped. You didn't. Of course I did. Do you think I'd let you and your boyfriend waltz away from this without consequences? You're not just losing me, Amanda. You're losing everything. She stared at me, her anger temporarily replaced by panic. Caleb, you can't do this. I'll fix it. I'll tell Ethan it was a mistake. I'll quit the job. Whatever you want. I scoffed. Too little, too late. You made your choice, Amanda. Now you're going to deal with the fallout. Later that day, while Amanda was holed up in the guest room, desperately trying to call Ethan, I made a few more moves to secure my clean break. First, I went to the bank and froze our joint account. She wasn't going to touch another penny of my money. Then, I contacted my lawyer to finalize the divorce papers. Amanda was about to learn what it meant to lose everything. By the time I got home, Amanda was in the kitchen, pale and trembling. Ethan's wife kicked him out, she muttered, staring blankly at the counter. She's threatening to take the kids. Everything. I shrugged, completely unmoved. Sounds like he's having a rough day. She glared at me. You think this is funny? Not funny, I said. Just justified. Amanda softened her tone, her voice pleading. Caleb, please, we can fix this. I know I hurt you, but we've been through so much together. Don't throw it all away. Her plea was pathetic, almost laughable. We've been through so much, Amanda. Don't love me into your mess. I didn't throw away years of marriage for one night with my boss. That was all you. But I still love you, she whispered, her voice breaking. Too bad, I said coldly. I don't love you anymore. The next morning, Amanda woke up to find her phone buzzing nonstop. It was a mix of work messages and family calls. Her face went white as she read through them. Apparently, Ethan had been forced to resign after his wife forwarded the evidence to his company's board of directors. I can't believe this is happening, she mumbled, sitting on the couch, head in her hands. Believe it, I said from across the room. Actions have consequences, Amanda. You thought you could control the fallout, but now you're drowning in it. Her phone rang again. This time it was her boss. She picked up hesitantly, her voice trembling. Hello. I could hear the sharp, professional voice on the other end. Amanda, we need you to come into the office immediately. We've received some concerning information and need to discuss your future with the company. Her hands shook as she hung up. They know, she whispered, staring at me. How could you do this to me? I couldn't hide the contempt in my voice. You did this to yourself, Amanda. And now you're going to feel what it's like to lose everything. Later that day, I was packing the last of my things when there was a knock at the door. I opened it to find Ethan standing there, looking like he hadn't slept in days, his face red, eyes bloodshot. Where's Amanda? He demanded. Not my problem anymore, I said, stepping aside and letting him into the house. Amanda came running into the hallway, her eyes widening when she saw him. Ethan, what are you doing here? Trying to salvage what's left of my life, he snapped. You didn't tell me your husband was a psycho. I didn't know, she protested. I watched the two of them bicker, feeling nothing but satisfaction. They were perfect for each other, too selfish, backstabbing, and manipulative. Let them destroy each other. Finally, I cut in. Ethan, get out of my house. Amanda, your storage unit key is on the counter. Take your circus somewhere else. They both looked at me, stunned. Amanda tried to speak, but I held up my hand. I'm done. I've already filed for divorce. You can keep your lies, your boyfriend, and whatever scraps of dignity you have left. With that, I turned and walked out, slamming the door behind me. For the first time in years, I felt free. Walking out of that house was like shedding 1,000 pounds. The air tasted sweeter, my steps felt lighter, and for the first time in years, I wasn't looking over my shoulder, trying to be the perfect husband for someone who didn't deserve me. Amanda and Ethan's pathetic meltdown was now their problem, and I had my own future to figure out. But before I could fully move on, I had one more loose end to tie up: the fallout from Ethan's family. If he thought losing his wife and job was the end of his troubles, he had another thing coming. 2 days later, I got a call from Laura Whitman, Ethan's wife. Her voice was calm, too calm, but there was a sharpness beneath it. Caleb, thank you for the information, she said. It's given me the clarity I needed. I'm glad to hear that, I replied. How are you holding up? Oh, I'm fine, she said, with an edge of steel. Ethan's not, though. He's been staying with his brother since I kicked him out, but I think it's time he learns what it's like to lose everything. I didn't ask for details. Laura clearly had a plan, and I wasn't about to get in her way. If there's anything else I can do— There is, she interrupted. You mentioned Amanda works in marketing, right? Ethan's company is in damage control mode, and they're looking for someone to blame. I'll make sure her name comes up. I didn't bother, hiding my grin. Thanks, Laura. I owe you one. Don't mention it, she said, her tone icy. Let's just say we're both making sure they can't run from their mess. Meanwhile, Amanda was floundering. I moved into my new apartment downtown, and the house was officially empty. I heard through the grapevine, from our mutual friends and her increasingly frantic texts, that she had been suspended from her job pending an investigation. Ethan's scandal had dragged her into the spotlight, and HR wasn't taking any chances. She called me once, leaving a teary, desperate voicemail that I deleted halfway through. Caleb, please. I'm begging you. Just talk to me. I don't have anyone else. I'll do anything, just please let me fix this. But Amanda wasn't the only one reaching out. Ethan showed up at my apartment one evening, looking worse for wear. His expensive suit was wrinkled, his tie loosened, as if he barely bothered to put himself together. I didn't even give him the courtesy of stepping inside. What do you want, Ethan? I asked through the half-open door. We need to talk, he said, his voice hoarse. You ruined everything, man. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed.
No, Ethan.
You ruined everything. I just made sure people knew. You don't understand, he stammered. Laura's freezing our accounts. My career is over. Amanda, she's falling apart. We made a mistake, okay? But it wasn't supposed to end like this. I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. You made a mistake? That's rich.
Rich.
You slept with my wife, Ethan. Did you think you'd just get away with it? He came to me, he snapped, frustration boiling over. She wanted this, Caleb. She said you didn't understand her ambitions, that you were holding her back. That stung more than I cared to admit, but I didn't let it show. And you thought you were the answers? I said, shaking my head. Get out of here, Ethan. Go clean up your own mess. He looked at me, defeated, then turned and shuffled away. Watching him slink off was oddly satisfying. A man who thought he had it all, brought low by his own arrogance. A week later, Amanda lost her job officially. I found out through one of her coworkers who still kept in touch. Apparently, the company cited unprofessional conduct as the reason, but everyone knew the real story. She tried texting me again, claiming she needed a place to stay, but I ignored her. Let her figure it out. She made her bed. Now Amanda could lie in it. As for Ethan, Laura made good on her promise. He was being dragged to divorce court, and his soon-to-be ex-wife was playing hardball. She'd hired one of the toughest lawyers in the state and was going after full custody of the kids, the house, and a hefty chunk of his finances. From what I heard, Ethan was living in a dingy rental, drowning in legal fees. As the dust settled, I started focusing on myself. For too long, I'd put Amanda first, sacrificing my own happiness for someone who didn't appreciate it. I took up hiking, reconnected with old friends, and even started dating again. Nothing serious, but it felt good to rediscover who I was without her shadow looming over me. One evening, I got a text from Laura. Drinks. My treat. We can toast to freedom. I smiled and typed back. Name the time and place. Amanda and Ethan had been the architects of their own destruction, and now they were reaping what they'd sown. Meanwhile, I was building a new life, one free from lies, betrayal, and toxic people. Meeting Laura for drinks felt like the perfect capstone to everything. She chose a cozy wine bar downtown, the kind of place where the ambience was lively enough to drown out the weight of the conversation. When I arrived, she was already at a corner table, a glass of red in hand. Her sharp green eyes caught mine, and she smiled, a mixture of relief and satisfaction. To freedom, she said, raising her glass. To freedom, I echoed, clinking mine against hers. We talked for hours, sharing the absurd, infuriating details of what our respective spouses had put us through. For Laura, it wasn't just Ethan's betrayal but the years of subtle manipulation and his arrogant belief that he could do no wrong. For me, it was the realization that I'd spent years with someone who viewed our marriage as a stepping stone, not a partnership. You know, she said, swirling her wine, I'm not even angry anymore. I feel liberated. I nodded. It's like they thought they'd outsmarted us, but in the end, they outplayed themselves. She laughed, a genuine warm sound. I guess I'm less bitter now, but it came with a steep price tag. Meanwhile, Amanda and Ethan were living out the full consequences of their actions. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Ethan was drowning in debt after Laura's divorce settlement wiped him out. She got the house, full custody of the kids, and enough alimony to keep her comfortable while he scrambled to make ends meet. Amanda wasn't faring much better. Her job prospects had dried up completely. Word of her affair had spread within her industry, and no one wanted to take the risk of hiring her. She'd been reduced to couch surfing with friends and selling off her designer handbags to cover rent for a studio apartment. Every so often, she'd send me a message, apologies, pleas for help, even attempts to rekindle what we once had. I never responded. One day, though, she sent a text that stood out. I made a mistake. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I wanted you to know that I regret everything. I hope you find happiness, Caleb. For a moment, I felt a pang of something, pity, maybe, but it passed quickly. I'd moved on, and her regret didn't change the damage she'd done. Life after Amanda turned out better than I ever expected. I threw myself into hobbies I had neglected during our marriage. Hiking became a weekly ritual, a way to clear my mind and focus on the present. I took cooking classes, joined a local trivia league, and even started writing as a way to process everything I'd been through. As for Laura and me, we kept in touch. What started as a shared experience of betrayal turned into a genuine friendship. She was sharp, funny, and fiercely independent, a stark contrast to the toxicity we had both escaped. Over time, that friendship deepened into something more. We weren't rushing into anything, but for the first time in years, I felt like I could trust someone completely. One evening, as Laura and I sat on her patio watching the sunset, she turned to me with a sly grin. Do you think they ever saw this coming? Not in a million years, I said, smiling back. Ethan and Amanda thought they were so clever. Now they're the ones left picking up the pieces. She raised her glass, the sunset casting a golden glow over her face. Here's to new beginnings. To new beginnings, I agreed, clinking my glass against hers. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I felt a sense of closure. Amanda and Ethan had made their choices, and they were living with the consequences. Meanwhile, I was finally free to build a life that was mine, free of lies and betrayal. And as I sat there with Laura, the future didn't feel daunting anymore. It felt full of promise.